Porsche is synonymous with sports cars, and for the last almost 3 decades they've been developing and producing mid-engined rear-wheel drive convertibles in regard to the Boxster and coupes, the Cayman. Then in 2016 the 4th generation came out, and this week we're lucky enough to have this car with its owner Jace to take it out on some of our favourite roads. It's a 2022 718 Cayman 4 litre GTS. Welcome everyone to this week's Fast and Fun. So this all started back in '96 when the 986 Boxster was created, and then in 2005 they came up with the 987, which then that's where the first Cayman generation came out. And then in 2012, Jace, it was the 981, which was the 3rd generation, and then eventually to the 718 Cayman, that is the 982.
That's right.
I'm confused. 718 Cayman, Jace, why was this? Because I thought 718 was the code for the follow-on from the 981, but actually this is the 982, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And there's, okay, the 982 follows 981, so there's a bit of sequencing there.
Yeah, I get that.
But they both follow the 987.
And yeah, exactly.
So yeah, Porsche's sort of model designation is a bit of a mystery in terms of how they pick the numbers. But the 718 aspect was with reference to a particular Porsche car that I think was designed and built in the 60s, and it was literally the Porsche 718. And the reason that they applied it to the 982 Boxster and Cayman in 2016 is because the original 718 was a 4-cylinder car, and the new 982s when they came out were 4-cylinder cars.
So was that the excuse almost to put it in its... It's part of the name, isn't it? 718 Cayman.
It is. I think the best way to think of it is if you look at the 911.
Yes.
And you've got 996, 997, 991, but they're still 911s.
They are.
So it's like Porsche tried to recreate the 911 designation, but for Boxsters and Caymans by calling them 718s.
718, okay.
And then, the Boxster's the cabriolet version of a 718, and the Cayman's the coupe version of a 718.
Okay, yeah, got you. So, came out with a 4-cylinder. I'm not in them Porsche groups. Jace, you're a Porsche enthusiast with looking at your gilet. So what repercussions did bringing out a 4-cylinder, flat 4, when historically for the 911s, Boxsters, Caymans, it's always about the flat 6?
Yeah. I'm going to caveat everything I'm about to say.
It's personal views.
Yeah, by preceding it with, I had the great opportunity to drive the the 4-cylinder 2.5 litre GTS.
They were turbo.
Yeah. At Porsche's Experience Centre at Silverstone, and I thought it was a great car. Lots of people bemoan the noise that it makes. It's a different noise, yes, but I think it's a really good noise still. It's its own noise.
Yeah.
It's got quite a guttural kind of bark to it, and I thought the 2.5 litre turbocharged flat 4 coupled with the PDK box on that GTS car was phenomenal on the Porsche Experience tracks at Silverstone. What is different is I think the characteristic of the engine. That's undeniable. It's a 4-cylinder turbo, not a 6-cylinder normally aspirated. So the power delivery is different, the torque delivery, etc. And it is a different noise.
Yeah.
Now, I came into this from a 987 S 3.2,
so that was a
flat 6 normally.
3.4, wasn't it?
3.4, you're right.
3.4, and that's, I'll put a link up to that video up here. And just, Jace, we do know each other quite well. We've known each other for many years. I did a Fast and Fun Car of the Year, and I made that the car of the year for me. And even today, I know how much Jace sold that car for, and I don't think that car's probably lost a penny. And I thought that car was absolutely the perfect balance on power, the steering, the handling, the brakes, everything. It was the perfect package in a small, compact, 2-seater sports car. There was not anything to dislike on that car.
No, I did love that car. I still do love that car. And, I'm in touch with the owner that I sold it to. And if he ever wants to sell it, I've asked him to give me a call first. If I didn't need the money out of that to go into this, and I had the space, etc., I would have kept that car as well.
So if they hadn't have brought out a 6-cylinder, the 4-litre, would you have bought one of the 2.5 flat fours?
I honestly don't know. You know, for me, I think we probably talked about this in one of the other videos we've done. A boyhood dream, you know, has always been to be in that, have that opportunity to go and buy a brand new Porsche, pick it up from the dealership, spec it your own way, etc. And you know, and I love the Cayman, well, Boxster Cayman platform.
Yeah.
So for me, it was always going to be a Cayman, as opposed to a 911.
Yeah.
Price is a big influencing factor there.
Yeah.
But then when they put them to the flat fours, as much as I said I enjoyed the GTS that I drove, I'm not really into turbo engines. So it took something away from me. It just didn't have the same pizzazz.
Yeah, because turbos normally, it's all that mid-range poke when the turbo, it's spooling up the turbo, and it gives you really useful power.
Yes,
but
it
it's
does.
not NA. It's not normal aspiration that you get with a high revving output for engine.
So I really don't know if they hadn't brought out the 4-litre flat sixes. I really don't know what I would have done.
So in regard to this specific car, it's on a private plate. So what year is this? This is a
2022. Took delivery in November 2022.
So just under 2 years old. Okay. Base price for?
At the time, I think it was 65.
Okay.
After I put my order in, there had been 2 price increases, but the dealership covered one of those because I'd already put the order in. But I think it was 65, maybe 65 and a half, something like that, base price.
Yeah. And I know Porsche renowned for being tight with regard to the options.
Yeah.
And the one thing I have read is about, did you really have to, was it an option to get a GTS interior in a GTS?
It is, and I didn't tick that option box because it's
poverty spec. It's poverty spec.
It's not quite poverty spec, but it's not Yorkshireman spec anyway. But I think the GTS spec, it's 2 parts to it.
Yeah.
And in total, they come to somewhere between about £2,500 to £3,000.
Wow.
And that gives you a full leather interior, dashboard, door cards.
Yeah.
It gives you contrast stitching. It gives you, in one of 2 colours, crayon or carmine red. It gives you seat belts to match that contrast stitching. I went for an extended leather option that wasn't the GTS option, and I put a coloured seat belts in. And that cost me about 1,300 quid.
So that was the only option you went for? Did you go?
No, I had things like these. They were satin Aram wheels.
Okay.
So it was like a matte finish. And I've just
same wheel, just different colour.
Yep, same.
Yeah.
So that was about a £600 option.
Yeah.
I had a shiny metal fuel cap put on. That was about 150 quid.
What? So it just comes, black plastic, is it?
Yeah. That's still only plastic, but just looks like metal. £150. I had the Porsche crest embossed in an Alcantara armrest.
On the armrest, I've seen that,
I think that was about £200.
Yeah.
I had what's called the light design package internally, and I still don't actually know what that gave me, but I think it's some footwell lights, some door bin lights, and some extra overhead lights that you can adjust the brightness of.
But the big things on the sports chrono.
Well, all that's the great thing about the GTS model. It's kind of the best parts out of the S or base model options kit. So the GTS as standard comes with the sports chrono, the sports exhaust, the Porsche active suspension management, which is PASM, and the other big option, ticket price option that I put on controversially was the PDK gearbox as well. And I'm sure you'll ask me about that. So
it was quite a lengthy process, wasn't it? From you, was it registry interest first before you actually get onto the proper ordering process?
Yeah.
And Jason and I had talked long about manual or PDK, and we'd gone a bit round in circles actually. Jace, you weren't hardcore manual, but you were definitely a manual enthusiast, I think it's fair to say. But you've gone PDK. Come on, because what was the rationale for that?
Yeah. I bought this to keep forever. This is my forever car, and the main reason, other than fulfilling that boyhood dream, is that this is the last last internal combustion engine Cayman Boxster. They're moving to electric allegedly from 2025. So I wanted a car that I knew I could keep basically to the end of my days. Hopefully at least 20 to 30 years. And I wanted something that was kind of future-proof for, quite frankly, getting older and less capable of, heel and towing and rev matching and so on. It's probably taken me the best part of 2 years to really get my head around. I do think I've made the right choice with PDK versus manual.
Because that was going to be a question now. Nearly 2 years in, you're not sat there regretting it. You think, do you know what? I've made the right choice.
Yeah, I don't regret it at all.
Good.
What I would say is, a lot of people talk about, the gearbox. And I think when people are talking about the gearbox is better as this or better as that, I'm talking about in these cars.
Yeah.
I think what they're really meaning is the gear shift.
Yeah.
And I definitely missed that. I loved the manual shift. I put the short shift kit in the 987, and I loved that, and I truly miss that. And I wish I still had that that kind of connection and sensation. The gearbox, though, in terms of the actual transmission and what it does, I think hands down the PDK is the best I've ever experienced, and it absolutely suits this car. For a start, you've got 7 gears, not 6, and that makes a difference then to this notorious issue around
every YouTube
gearing.
video talks about is the gearing, and you can break the speed limit in second gear, and you only need to use second gear on the road. Okay. So PDK, 4 litre, mid-engine, rear-wheel drive. Let's have a quick walk around the car first, and then let's get it out on the open road. Jace, what colour's this?
This is gentian blue. That was one of the other options. I think that was about a £600 option.
Okay. Lovely colour. I think you've absolutely nailed the colour there, for sure. And at the front end, the GTS front end's slightly different, isn't it?
To the base and the S. In that some of the moulding around here is different, sort of a different profile to it. It's got this sort of chin.
Low splitter.
Yeah, I wouldn't exactly call it a splitter, but this kind of lip. And then the grille here is non-standard, but this is the Zunsport grills that a lot of people fit aftermarket. I fitted those as soon as I got it home on day one. I did the same on the 987 just to protect the very exposed condensers.
Yeah, and that's been I had a 987 Boxster Gen 1, and that was exactly the same. They just got damaged because they're so low to the ground. Taking a look at the alloys, these are 19s?
20s.
20s, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Arguably too big, but that's the standard wheel size that they come with.
235, these are fronts, 235, 35, 20s. Currently on Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's. Come from factory on P0s, Jace, do they?
Well, it is a lottery, and this one did come with Pirellis from the factory. I think there was just a shortage of Michelins at the time. There was still an N-rated tyre.
Yes.
And I changed these probably about June this year. I'd had about 5 track days out of the Pirellis.
Yeah.
And probably in total nearly 10 or 11,000 miles.
Okay.
So I didn't like the Pirellis on road, but actually on track, probably because they are a hard tyre, they really stood up on track, and they were actually a really good tyre on track. Okay.
And it looks like the 6-pot.
That's right.
Calipers.
Yeah.
Okay, 6-pot up front and 4 on the rear, I assume.
That's right, yeah. I believe these are the calipers off the Carrera 4.
Okay. You see the lettering here just demarcating that this is the GTS, the 4 litre. And that's the only one. Now, they normally come in a different colour, don't they?
Yeah, the thing about GTS cars is all the kind of trim, the decals, the vents, things like around the front grille, etc., they're all black. That's one of the things about GTS cars from Porsche. The problem against the gentian blue paint, you couldn't see the decal. So I had these put on a few months ago to colour match with the wheels. I got them from a third-party website called Design Stuff Online.
Okay.
That I've had previous decals for the 987 from. Really good quality product. And I just used a wrapping place in Bedford to put them on for me.
Okay. And for me, as soon as you pulled up on the drive, actually, I saw it because I'd seen the car with the black lettering. Very subtle. You could barely, you'd barely notice it unless you were specifically looking for it, really. So
yeah.
I think it's a really good, positive move, that.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same font and size, etc., as the original factory fit decal.
Yeah. Intakes. Is this an intake, Jace, or is it the other side, or?
No, both sides are intakes on the 4 litre. Yeah.
Okay. And so, really good question. You've paid such a significant premium for your 6-cylinder. How many times have you seen your engine, Jace?
Never yet, but I take that as good news.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go around the back of the car. So the back, I'm not a great lover of the back of the 718 Cayman personally. It's just, again, it's personal taste, I suppose. Jace, you sort of prefer the back end to the front end, you were saying.
Well, yeah, I prefer the back end of the 718 to the back end of the 981, but I think the 981 GTS has got a more aggressive looking front end, so I actually prefer the 981 front end more than the front end on this. But the other big thing to note here, and this is the only, apart from the decal on the door, this is the only indicator that this is the 4 litre, and it's the fact that the pipes are split.
Right, rather than...
On the 4-cylinder turbocharged models, whether it's the base, the S or the GTS, you've got two centre pipes.
Ah, okay. So can we just pop the boot and the frunk and the boot?
Oh, and just as an aside in terms of optional extras...
Yep.
That was £10 off of eBay for the colour-matched key fob, or it's around about £160 optional extra from Porsche.
Oh, it's incredible, isn't it? That's just... Talk about the Porsche tax.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. So considering you've got a frunk as well, this is pretty good, isn't it?
It is. I think this is slightly smaller than the boot I had on the 987, but I'm assuming simply because
you've got a bigger capacity engine right under there.
So it feels like I could used to get kind of 2 bags side by side in, soft grips, whereas now I can only really get one in widthways.
Got you.
But it's still really...
Yeah, and you could put suits and a few flat clothes under your elasticated.
Yeah.
So that's...
So I've done 2 European trips in this now.
Yeah.
One last year, one this year, with myself and my girlfriend in the car for like a week or more, and we've taken more than enough bags, clothes, etc., for a couple away for a week in this.
Excellent. Let's have a quick look at the frunk, around the front. That's the benefit of having mid-engined, because you get a bit at the front and a bit at the back. Wow, so that's a really good size.
Yeah.
And I'm comparing this to my R8 that's got a frunk, and my R8's not that big. It's probably only 2/3 that size, I suppose.
I can get 2 of the sort of carry-on trolley case size bags. Dropped into there, either upright or one on top of the other easily, and then all sorts of other things squeezed in between as well.
Excellent. That's so you've definitely got decent practicality as far as a 2-seater coupe is concerned.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, we're going to cover the inside whilst we're driving, because otherwise the video will be too long. So we're going to jump in the car, drive out on some better roads, and then you'll meet us on the road in a few minutes.